Hello and welcome to the Draft Talk podcast. We're back talking all things NFL draft. We are continuing today our top 5 series for this year's draft. Going on the inside for the defensive line. Check out last week's if you're not already with the defensive edges. But yep, it is Owen and Stu who are going to talk to us today. Guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good, Brian. Again, another group I'm quite looking forward to get into. Defensive tackle has not always been a favourite one, but I think there's a few good players here. We'll probably have plenty to chat about and debate, talk, see what's going to happen with this class.
Yeah, it's a solid class. I think so you could see 10 of these guys go in the first couple of rounds, over the first couple of days, but I think that the top of the class is very good as well. There might be some consensus over names that we're going to talk about, but there's a lot of discussion to be had in kind of what order they go in and where they go. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Indeed. Regular listeners will know the guys have they've done all the scouting, watched all the tape, looked at all the measurables, and they've put together their top 5 in each position. So let's crack on with our defensive tackles. Stu, I'll let you kick off. Who's your number 5 defensive tackle, please?
Yeah, so number 5 on my list for me. Again, this is a difficult kind of sorting out that who makes the cut, who doesn't make the cut kind of group. And for me, it's the one that they've nicknamed the Godfather, Dontay Corleone. He is more of a nose tackle, one tech kind of guy, really compact, powerful, leverage winner. He really thrives at the point of attack. He has really heavy hands and he has a really good ability to control the line of scrimmage. Really, really good run defender and controls the gaps very well. Over the last kind of year, his condition has improved. He's not so fatigued towards the end of games. His hand placement has improved. He's got good block recognition. He's functionally athletic for the role. He's not built for that kind of range or penetration role, but he does have really good balance and good in the short areas. Point of attack strength, as we talked about, he really generates instant knockback with those heavy hands. He's got one of the strongest anchors out of these guys. He's not much of a pass rusher, really. He's got a strong bull rush, and he can collapse the pocket with power, but he's not going to be one of those guys who's in the backfield disrupting things. He absorbs contact very well. He's got good football IQ. Yeah, lot to like about him. He's just, I think, going to be a solid, steady presence in the middle of defense, and that's sometimes what teams just need, someone to anchor that unit and provide the run stuffing and gap control that he does.
Yeah, extremely physical, violent interior run disruptor who's got strong mentality, relentless effort, wins with his bull rushing power rather than any type of finesse. I think he'll be restricted in terms of his ceiling, in terms of his pass rush flashes aren't that high. And he's built really to own that A gap. And to be fair, he often does. He's there because his non-stop motor, violent hands to get off the block. But yeah, he's a high floor. I think he'll be a 3-down interior presence. So he's already technically refined in terms of being able to take as a day 2 pick and plug in playing him. But he is short. He's only 6'1", but he's kind of like a bowling ball. He's 6'1".
Compact,
He's 6'1", 335 pounds. So he's heavy as well. Despite that, he can play too high at times. I wonder if he's trying to mitigate for that lack of length in terms of surrendering leverage. And his pass rush plan, there isn't much of one apart from a bull rush. I had him down at number 8. There's players I liked much better at him, but that's because it's a good class. But I do like Dontay Corleone. I think he's a top 10 player, a defensive tackling class. And I think if you want to take him with an early round 3 pick, then I'd be more than happy with that.
Yeah, he's just going to be that. He's going to play in that kind of nose tackle shade kind of. He's not going to be playing anything even out as wide as a 3 technique, but I just really like what he gives in that mid-lat defense, and I think he's one of the best in the class at doing that.
Yeah.
That's a good player. Great nickname. Owen, who's your number 5, please?
Yeah, 5 for me was Christen Miller from Georgia. 6'5", 310 pounds. Just a rock solid force with NFL type anchor strength. Really good movement for his size as well, and he just eats gaps as a defensive tackle. Really good at run fits while flashing disruptive potentials of 3-down interior pressures. This is a lot on potential, but I see a player who offers a power first presence, who's got ascending production. He appears to keep getting better and better and stronger, and I think he's extremely scheme versatile too. Since his anchor consistently absorbs combo blocks while maintaining the integrity, and playing in the SEC comes up against all sorts of different power, and he's able to use his broad size and his long arms to leverage and anchor against double teams, keeping sustained effort and improving, say, ascending as a pass rusher in terms of being disruptive in the middle, in terms of using his hand and developing counter moves as a pass rusher. He's probably going to be like that run stopping one tech, but I see a player who's got a really good ascending arc, but in terms of finishing, you'd like to see more penetration at times, and his hand placement can get a bit sloppy, but I think you're getting a high floor and a high ceiling, which for me means that he's in at 5 and could be that round 2 range.
Myself and Owen, if we combined us, would make an amazing GM together, because we value different things, and I think we'd come to a consensus on things. We've flipped 5 and 8 because he's 8 for me. Yeah. I like a lot of what you've said about him. I think he's probably one of the most athletic interior defensive linemen in the class. He's got a really good first step, and he moves like a player who is lighter.
Yeah.
He's not pure power, but he does have adequate strength, and he wins more with a bit of quickness and leverage than the brute force. I think consistency is a thing that for me is he has all the tools. I think he just needs to put it all together. He's sat behind
that's always
defensive linemen.
Right?
He's not had enough game experience because they just churn out a good play. The last couple of years we've seen those Georgia defensive lines. We did see the upside in this, this season and why he's at a team like Georgia. I think there's more to come from him. But we often have this debate about, potential versus what we can plug now. And we probably are on different sides of that when we're looking at the players. It doesn't mean we don't like the players and what at all. But he is someone who has got a lot of upside.
There we go, both your 5 and 8 picks. Thank you. Owen, let's have your number 4, please.
4 for me is Florida's Caleb Banks. Really difficult evaluation because you're relying almost solely on 2024 tape that hardly played in 2025, contributed in 6 games, and to be honest, he probably shouldn't have even been entered into the role in terms of 2025, because it was just, you might as well just throw it out the window in terms of the tape you saw. There was such a lack of it. But at 6'6", 330 pounds, just massive, rare size with elite length and movement for that size, who broke out in 2024, had really good numbers, but then say that injury that he sustained in training camp in the summer just completely curtailed his season, which makes him a really interesting evaluation. So you are banking on what you saw in 2024, but I think he's been in the Senior Bowl and we looked at one of the best players there, but using that elite size and length with boundary kind of traits for the NFL, explosive potential despite limited recent production, and is really just a wild card in this class in terms of how high he can go. But you talk of prototypical physical profile, he has that. The 2024 tape showed a dynamic interior disruptor who's able to just consistently create pressure, push pockets, especially as a pass rusher, generating chaos. It's just a chaos disruptor, and he is explosive too for his size. For either a big man, he's surprisingly agile, especially laterally, and bursts off the snap. Pass rushing upside as well, so when he's engaged, he can win with explosive first step, and because of that size as well, he's able to hold his ground and shed blocks in the run game. So I think there's a lot to like about Caleb Banks. The problem is there wasn't anything really to see in 2025, so that injury availability, I'm sure he was played at the Senior Bowl. I'm sure NFL teams will start to become okay with that, and he needs more technical polish, but I think there's a lot of upside to picking a player like Caleb Banks.
Yeah, Caleb Banks has things that you can't teach.
Yeah.
He's got that rare combination of length, explosiveness, and disruption that you can't always just teach those things. There is lots of things that he can and will be able to be taught. We've talked about his refinement in his leverage hands. Using his hands are not as they're very strong, big, powerful hands, but I don't know if he always has them as reactive, and his sequencing could be quicker. But when he is low, set down, gets his pad levels right, he looks really, really dominant. I think, yes, we've seen him back at the Senior Bowl now, so I think that there's enough there to say that he's got that injuries behind him. He's finding his feet again. I think he's on that path of the draft build up. He's done the Senior Bowl. He's gonna test. They're gonna have interviews with him. I think he's somebody we're going to be talking about a lot higher than has been. I had him as number 3, for that reason. I really like Caleb Banks, and I won't be surprised if he is called earlier than anticipated a few weeks ago on night 1.
Yeah, we talk about it every year, but momentum is real when it comes to draft stock. And his, I think, will just keep going up, especially if we get to the combine and there's positive reports. I think there's a team will talk themselves into taking Caleb Banks early, and I think that's completely fair. Because you look at the 2024 season, 13% pressure rate, which is really good from the interior, and 4.5 sacks, 29 pressures in total. Really good numbers for a player who had a breakout season. You would have loved to have seen that again this year. That's the only knock you can really have on Caleb Banks, because the profile is definitely there.
Good stuff. Owen, we'll have your number 3, please.
Okay, yeah. So 3 for me is Kayden McDonald from Ohio State, who is a unanimous All-American 2025. Just a massive instinctual interior force who's got rare physicality and pure run-stopping consistency. And consistency is right there because McDonald consistently holds up against the run. Recorded a tackle on 22% of his rush defense snaps in 2025. 6'3", 326 pounds. His strengths are his run defense and his ability to win at the point of attack. Elite anchor presence. He consistently holds his ground against double teams, controls 2 gaps scenarios, and prevents interior push pulls. Despite his size, which he's 326 pounds, I think he is violently enough in his athleticism and his first step to shoot through gaps. We've seen enough of that. I would have liked to have seen more in terms of his ability to push the pocket as a pass rusher and in passing situations, because while he's not a pure sack artist, there's enough early disruption there to see that he can do it. I would have just liked to have been able to see a lot more of it, and his ability to then finish the reps and while he's in the backfield. But his ability to move laterally at his size, I was really impressed with his fluidity and his fluid athleticism, and his integrity and discipline as a run blocker was really strong. So I had him at number 3.
Slightly higher, I had him at 2.
Yeah.
But he, for me, is someone who is not going to stuff the stat sheets.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the box score, you're not going to see loads of Kayden McDonald over there.
Yeah.
But when you watch him play, you're going to be really impressed. He's a real tone setter. He sets the standard in the middle of that defense. He's got really long, really strong lower body. He can hold up against double teams, can quite take that on very easily. He's got really heavy hands. He plays with good pad level. He's quite quick off the snap for someone at his size. Again, we talked about that gap integrity, control. He is quite fluid for a guy his size. He's still kind of developing the pass rush, I would say. He's got some moves, but that kind of counter and reaction and resetting, he maybe has to be a bit work on. That kind of between 1 and 3 tech, I think, is where he will thrive as well. Again, just a really, really solid player. And I think that you could just plug him in the middle of a defense just now and be happy for the next however many years. Yeah. And maybe have someone beside him who's that more penetrative style player, and you've got a really good 1-2 combination in the middle of a defense.
There we go. People taking note. I know you are, Stu. I'd seen you like adding it up. Who's your number 4, please, Stu?
Okay, so we're going backwards in the it's kind of
Backwards to go forwards.
backwards to go forwards. So for me, we've talked about it previously about Clemson
Oh, here we
and
go.
their season,
Let's get
and
into it, guys.
there was a real collapse this year with this player, but I still believe that there's something there in Peter Woods from Clemson. Um, I think he's twitchy, he's powerful, he's got good technique in the middle of the defense. His production had fallen off a chart in the last year. He hasn't really progressed as much as I would have liked him to from his early career at Clemson. Um, but the whole unit regressed and it didn't elevate him. And I think the expectations were probably too high for him. He was, he was called one of the top guys, particularly at this turn of the season. But there's still enough there that I think there's a player in there that he's got all the tools. I think they just need someone to pull it out of him. I think it's all there for him if he wants it. And again, just betting on him ending up in the right spot for me is where it's kind of gone.
I think this is where we might disagree, because I do think he's a much better player than you're giving him credit for. I have him at number 1.
Oh wow, okay.
So, yeah. And I still think he's one of the better players in this class.
I've maybe been harsh on him for the last year, I think.
Yeah, but he's just so uniquely athletic in the middle, and it's that rare explosiveness for £310, playing at about 315 at the moment. I think he's just his ability to combine the run stopping force with that incredible burst and athleticism off the snap means that he could reshape a defensive line by inserting him in there, especially if you've got good edge rushers, because he's able to annihilate the run game, and I think he's more consistent than you gave him credit for last year in terms of being able to hold up against the run and be able to collapse lanes when he needs to. And so I think he has rare first step quickness for defensive tackles and someone of his size, and his ability to use that before offensive linemen are able to fully form their blocks to get round them. I really like, and I'm just more than happy to trust him in every down situations and short yardage situations as well. In terms of what I really liked, the explosive instant penetration because of that explosive movement, the capability of shooting through interior gaps. I think is pretty uncommon for his size. 16% pass rush win rate in 2025, which is really quite high for the interior, and it was 22% the year before. So it did fall off. There's no doubt about it. And we could speak like go and watch when we spoke about TJ Parker in the Edge episode, that you do have to kind of take context into account with these Clemson guys. But there was enough there. It just wasn't his ability to finish, I think, lacked in 2025 compared to 2024, that despite his elite burst, that his sack totals are reflective of his ability not to consistently get tackles wrapped up in the backfield, and I think that showed up in terms of his athletic profile and his production, because he had an 18% missed tackle rate in 2025 as well, which kind of goes into that productivity. And I think you take a couple of those percentage points, and I think that the narrative can change them. Functional strength, more than good enough and able to reset blockers and sustain engagements. And whilst they were sack numbers dipped, that I think he's got presence who's able to alter blocking plans and free guys up. So yeah, his ability to win with athletic leverage. He's still young as well, still growing. I think you can get more out of him. Almost squeeze the lemon in terms to get the goods out of him. And I think there's a really good player sat there in Peter Woods who deserves more credit than he's getting, because while the overall numbers got, the advanced data shows that he's one of the top defensive tackles in this class, and one of the better ones I think that we've watched in recent years.
Interesting. Could see two different points there, and especially makes a lot of excitement as we get near the draft. Where will he go? Stu, we need your number 1, please.
Okay, full transparency on this one. We cancelled this episode last week, and I had my list all ready to go, thinking that I was on to one of being very clever and loving this player. And then Daniel Jeremiah went put his mock draft and had him placed in about 20. So I'm like, yeah, I haven't discovered a gem at all. Lee Hunter, for me, was one of the top interior defensive linemen. I think he's a really powerful, stout presence in the trenches. He was a real tone setter for what was a very good Red Raiders defensive line. He's got a blend of size, strength, quickness, and he is really poised in the position. He transferred to Texas Tech, seeking a larger role and more consistent playing time, and he certainly got that. He's got a thick, powerful frame with a really strong lower body, and he's able to anchor very well. He's an explosive athlete from the short area. He's got that lower body strength. He's got really heavy hands, a strong core. He can reset the line with scrimmage. He makes him a real handful for interior men. His initial burst and power allow him to win early in the reps. He's versatile. He can move around that defensive line. He's maybe not the most agile laterally compared to some of the other guys, and he could have a slightly more pass rush plan. But I really like him. I think that he's someone who, again, we talk about these tone setters in the middle of defense. He'll be a rock solid in the middle of a defensive line for someone. And I just thought he just seemed polished to know what he was doing, relaxed in the role, wasn't rushed. You didn't see him overcommitting a lot, and I just thought that he just seemed the one who was poised to make that step the earliest for me.
Yeah. Like you, Stu, I've also jumped on the bandwagon, and I have him at number 2. I think with Hunter, this is where experience matters, because you can just tell he's played a lot of football, and he's just one step ahead of players on the field. You look at some of the one-on-one reps, and one-on-one reps at the Senior Bowl can be a bit dodgy in terms of the amount of steps and things like that you get, and the scenarios aren't exactly fair from player to player, but he's just dominant because he knows what he's doing more, and he's just a grown man. Some of those reps at the Senior Bowl, I thought, you scare me. That he's just so intense in his power. He's not the quickest of guys, but when
he's really controlled with that intensity, is what I think as well. It's not wild.
Exactly that. But he's massive as well, 6'4", 330 pounds, and just that interior force, elite run stuffing, more explosive than we're giving him credit for. So just rising potential after that Senior Bowl, and kind of tone setting. I think you would play him as a nose tackle, but he's got that tone setting ability to clog gaps in the interior, to anchor down against power and just make life easier for everyone else around him. That's just his ability. You've seen that at Texas Tech, because we were talking about David Bailey in the edge, or Romello Height as well. 2 very productive guys. Lee Hunter can take some credit for that, because his ability to stall gaps was potential, and creates potential for these guys. Violent at the point of attack, occupies and overwhelms blockers. Really quick with that initial burst as well. Weaknesses, as you pointed out this year, there's not really much polish to his pass rush moves. While they're there, they're not particularly polished while he's controlled. They're not necessarily refined, and his pressure conversion was quite low as well. So I would have liked him to finish some plays. I think that he could have had a lot more. There's a lot of sacks and pressures that were left on the table that he just didn't quite convert. He had 25 pressures and 19 quarterback hurries in 2025 and only 2 sacks. So where he causes that havoc, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the finished product. So you've got there that's not all down to him, but there's just the ability to convert that size, strength and speed into more refinement will mean that he's able to collect more sacks, collect more data as well in terms of being able to finish those. But a very, very good player. I think round 1 isn't off the cards at this point.
Yep.
Nice. Well, there we go. Some two top 5s. Any names that we're missing there, guys? We need to keep an eye out for.
I think the guy with the best nickname coming in is Big Citrus. I love it. Dominique Orange, for those who don't know. I think he's a name that's. I think the nickname does add a little bit to him. To be honest, I think people do love it because he's got a cool nickname. But he's one who's had a lot of talk about him. He's big, strong, powerful, run dominator, and can cause a bit of interior disruption. He's not the best pass rusher. I think he's a real run clogger, and he would be happy for teams to do that. But yeah, I thought we'd give him a mention just because he has a really cool nickname.
Yeah,
I can see the appeal.
Yeah.
Darryl Jackson from Florida State would have been the next guy up for me. I think he's not getting enough buzz. Didn't have a great 2025 compared to what we were maybe expecting, but 6'5", 337 pounds. He's got a really big wingspan as well from what we're expecting and what we saw at the Shrine Bowl. So he's a player that I would expect to rise up boards because he's very versatile and is good rushing the passer also. So he's a name to keep an eye out for.
Another one with for me was Amari Washington as well from Oregon.
He's gone back to school.
He's gone back to school. There we go. I didn't miss that one. Waste of a time. Watching him. There's always one every year that you miss someone who's gone back to school.
A lot of the Oregon guys have gone back to school. Mateo
he's
gone back, and then Dontay Moore, the Oregon.
Yeah. I got that. I totally missed on him going back, so we'll just ignore that.
Everybody gets one.
That's fine. Done now.
No more. You've got to check it, Stu, okay? Right, good stuff, guys. Quickly remind the lovely folk of your top fives, please.
Yeah, I had Christen Miller at 5 from Georgia, Caleb Banks from Florida at 4, 3 was Kayden McDonald from Ohio State, 2 Lee Hunter from Texas Tech, and 1 was Peter Woods from Clemson.
Yeah, so I had the Godfather, Dontay Corleone from Cincinnati at 5, Peter Woods from Clemson at 4, Florida's Caleb Banks at 3, Kayden McDonald from Ohio State at 2, and Lee Hunter from Texas Tech at 1.
Lovely stuff. Well, there we have it. Another top 5 sorted. We'll be back very soon with some more. In the meantime, thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. See you soon.